Hi everyone, welcome to beautiful Lake Eola Park in downtown Orlando. I'm Bob Opsahl and we're here looking at one of the city's most recognizable landmarks. Have you ever wondered how this fountain came to be? How old it is? What's it called? Well, we're going to answer those questions and many more as we celebrate its 50th birthday. Orlando has a dual image depending on where you come from. For many visitors, the theme parks characterize the city of Orlando. But for residents, the fountain is the icon that represents our city. Let's start by clearing up the question. What is the name of the fountain here in Lake Eola Park?
It's the fountain at Lake Eola.
Man, who doesn't know that?
No, I thought it was called the Lake Eola Fountain. No.
Everybody knows the name of this fountain. At least everybody that lives in Orlando knows the name of the fountain now.
It's,
Because I remember hearing it, the fountain at Lake Eola, at Lake Eola Park.
No. It's the Linton E Memorial Fountain. Everybody knows that. It's spelled out right here.
What is it called?
Actually, the fountain started out its life as the Centennial Fountain back on October 5th, 1957. In 1965, Mayor Bob Carr had the name changed to the Linton E. Memorial Fountain to honor its founder, and that's its actual name to this day. Now, having said that, most people call it the Lake Eola Fountain. Whatever you call it, let's take a trip back 50 years or so to see how this beloved icon came to be. Linton E. Allen, the chairman for Orlando's First National Bank, now the Sun Bank, is considered the father of the Centennial Fountain. It was through his efforts and ideas that the fountain took shape. Kurt Stanton, the OUC chairman at the time, recalls how his friend and neighbor came up with the idea.
Well, I came in '47 and interviewed for assistant manager and was appointed general manager upon the death of the present general manager in January of '48, a position which I held until September of 1983, or 35 years. I, during that time, saw the utilities and the city grow tremendously. When I came here, I think our employment was about 150 people. We were worth about $10 million. And if we hung on the switches and be sure they didn't open, we could produce about 18,000 kilowatts. We had a commission meeting regularly, and at one, Mr. Allen's secretary called us and said that he would like to appear before the commission. And he would have with him Mr. Stuart Johnson, who at the time was the manager of the Orlando Chamber of Commerce. They came to the meeting, and when he spoke to the commission by telling them, to begin with, that he and Stuart Johnson had been to Washington for a meeting of the United States Chamber of Commerce, had stayed in a beautiful hotel, and out front was a beautiful fountain, many colors. He says, I think we ought to have one in Orlando. And since the Orlando Utilities Commission is in the water business, you should build a fountain. The day that was chosen was the 100-year age of Orlando, the centennial. So the fountain in the beginning was named the Centennial Fountain. Later, the name was changed at the death of Mr. Allen to commemorate his foresight and ideas and certainly his contributions to the city. It was changed to Linton E. Allen Memorial Fountain, but a lot of folks still call it the Centennial Fountain, either way. Well, the night we decided to start it up, obviously at night, so we could see the colors. When I was at the university studying engineering, I remember one afternoon in chemistry class, we were given a demonstration of fluorescence. And the way it was demonstrated was the instructor took a great big plastic bowl and he poured several water with certain chemicals in there. And then the last one, to get his effect, was one more while, and boy, it just really turned on bright, fluoresced. I got to thinking about that. Gee, wouldn't that make a spectacular way to start this thing? So we decided to do that, and our public relations person said, look, as long as we're doing this, you've got to pour 5 different kinds of water. Let's get water from the 5 countries when Florida was under 5 flags. And we did this. He got a sample of water from each one of those countries, and the last one was to be the United States, of course. And we put 2 electrodes in the water that was in the bowl, and the last one that went in would have acid in it that would allow the electricity to flow between the electrodes, thereby activating the switch that turned on the fountain. This was the theory. So we did this, but just to be on the safe side, I had one of our boys underneath that platform with a manual switch in case it didn't work. But it worked, and everybody just glowed. The fountain came on beautifully, and it was a wonderful evening. It began to really be appealing to have something like that as a central attraction. But the main thought behind all of this was it was going to help the definition of the city view.
The fountain is 60 feet in diameter, 18 feet above the lake, and supported by concrete pilings 60 feet into the lake bed. Now imagine the challenge of building a fountain in the middle of a lake using today's technology like GPS and laser surveying equipment. Well, now imagine that same job back in the 1950s without the benefit of today's tools. That was the scope of the project that builder Bill Ravenel was facing when his company got the contract to construct this fountain in the middle of Lake Eola.
That fountain just intrigued me. So the only thing that you did from the shore was to locate it. After that, it's all done out there. It's all done with hand levels, hand tools, hand everything. They didn't have lasers in those days. They didn't have any of this equipment that we've got today. We'd put concrete buckets on the small barge and take it out there, and then the big crane would pick them up and pour the concrete into the hollow piles. So we had 28 of these big caps. Then we had stability. So then they had to be tied together with big beams. The beams were cast up on the shore. We hauled them out on a barge, set them into place, tied them all together, poured a connecting piece in the middle. So then you had beams all the way around. Everything that could be precast, we precast on the shore, hauled it out there. Other things had to be cast out there, and we'd haul the bucket of concrete out there. The big crane would hold it in place, and we would pour it. In a way, it was like an erector set because it was all built offshore. I mean, in another place. It's all fiberglass, or really, it's not fiberglass. That was before fiberglass came into being. This was formed plastic, plexiglass, and it came in pieces, and they were put together and bolted together all around the fountain. Then they built the upper structure and capped it, and then the inside they had to put the pumps as 2 10-inch turbine pumps that go down 20 foot deep into the water, and that's what provides the water.
And we did add something to the designer idea. We had little ledges around the sides to break the water. Otherwise, it was falling down and just remaining a sheet. But when we put the little ledges in there, it broke it up and would make bubbles, and that was more apparency. It has a timer for a definite cycle for operation of the jets, so that there's a continuous change in this. The jet will come up and there'll be certain side fountains come. Another time the jet will come by itself, usually at the end of the cycle. And then we'll start over. And they'll come around and the side jets will start up, and then the center jet goes up in between them. And all just trying to give as good effect. And at the same time the lighting is changing to correspond with the different moods of the ways of the water.
My father was the resident engineer with Black & Associates, who worked with William Pauley, the landscape architect. They made a presentation to the Orlando Utilities Commission utilizing this document to win the contract for placing an electrical illuminated fountain in Lake Eola. This is the book that was presented to Orlando Utilities Commission that describes even down to the dress and behavior of the workers. It talks about the types of concrete that would be used, the types of cement, the grade, color, and companies that would produce the plexiglass to be used on the fountain, the electrical sources, the water sources, the barricades. This is the scale model that Mr. Pauley utilized in his presentation to the Orlando Utilities Commission, and it's a working model. And once the contracts were awarded, he gave the model to my father. This is the original material that was also utilized on the fountain.
I took this on. I thought that the fountain should be visible from the intersection of Washington and Orange into Lake Eola. So everybody agreed, those involved, the city folks as well as the utilities. So we went and started with the construction and had a pile driver out there because piling had to be driven into the bottom of the lake in order to support the structure. The first piling that was driven was right in the center of Lake Eola. I think there were about 2 hits and it went out of sight. Well, most of these lakes around here are old sinkholes, and we apparently had obviously hit right in the center of the sinkhole. So down it went. So still wanting to keep that alignment, we moved the fountain about maybe 30 or 40 yards west towards the city, towards downtown, but still keeping the same alignment with Washington. No problem then. It took up on the slope. We drove those down to what is known as refusal. I mean, it's down as far as it goes, it will support. And so that located the fountain, and that's where it is now. If you fly over, you'll see that it really isn't in the center, and that's why it isn't in the center. Otherwise, there'd be no fountain, as you called it.
In 1956, both men and their teams were focused on completing just another construction project. However, they had no idea the project would become the historical icon it is today. We checked with some of the folks who live and work here in Orlando to find out what this fountain and its symbolism mean to them.
Lake Eola in itself is such a great place for me to bring my kids, get away from the day-to-day, working 9 to 5, in school, and especially during the summer, it's a fabulous place to be. I don't know, it's just a great place to get away. Even though it's in the middle of a big city, it's almost like the city disappears while you're sitting here.
Well, it's a great place to be. Basically, I come here with my kids and we watch, we like to feed the duckies or the swans, and we like to just basically have fun with them and watch the fountain and see the water patterns. And he's always, I mean, he loves the jet streams and all that stuff. So basically, it's just a good time.
In fact, the fountain is all around the city in many forms. We see it in signage, in printed material, and advertisements.
The fountain is the most distinctive and recognizable symbol in the city of Orlando, and it's even home to our largest celebration, fireworks at the fountain. Over the past 50 years, the fountain has served as a centerpiece for community gatherings and special events. I look forward to all the memories and experiences that will be created over the next 50 years.
Hello, my name is Ken Cross. I'm going to show you what it takes to do the day-to-day maintenance on the fountain. Generally when we come out, we walk in, we got to clear out all the cobwebs. On a week-to-week basis, the cobwebs just get built up everywhere. And then we'll walk over and bleed the water that accumulates in the air tank. Got to drain it out of both spots. Then I'll step over here. I'll check out all these breakers, make sure ain't none of them tripped, and if some of them are tripped, then we got to go through the light sequence and figure out what's not working and get the problem rectified. Yeah, the way you see the fountain now is about the worst it will get. This is after 3 months of algae growth. We pressure wash, clean it, and repaint it every 3 months. When we have to change these lights out, you gotta pull them out of their buckets, and then you can see the algae build up on them. You have 6 screws that we gotta pull out around here, and you gotta make sure we tighten down all the bolts evenly, and then we just wrap up the cord, shove it back down in its bucket. When we want to climb on top of the fountain, those little standoffs there, we got 2x4s that stretch across the standoffs and go all the way up to the top. And then you carefully climb up the 2x4s, and you can get up to the middle section where it's got a built-in ladder. You can climb up the ladder and climb over the edge, and then you can get on top to service the lights and the water jets that are up top.
We've looked at the history and the impact the Centennial Fountain has had on the citizens of Orlando. It has come to represent our city and our culture, and it remains a constant through a 50-year period of incredible growth and change. Through all of that, it is still a relevant symbol of our great city. I'm Bob Opsahl. Thanks for watching.